Balto, the Dog Who Saved Nome, Part 2 by Margaret Davidson, illustrated by Donald Cook. The first part of the trail to Nome led across the sea ice. This ice wasn't anything like ice on a small pond or lake. It seemed much more alive. And no wonder. The water under the sea was moving up and down because of the storm. So the ice was moving up and down too. Up and down it went like a roller coaster. In some places, the ice was smooth and slippery as glass. Dogs are usually sure-footed. But they slipped and skidded across this ice. So did the sled. And sometimes the ice came to sharp points that dug deep into the dog's paws. Worst of all were the places where the ice was bumpy, so bumpy that the sled turned over again and again. Each time it turned over, the other dogs began to bark and snap at each other. But Balto always stood quietly while Houghton set the sled upright again. Balto was calm, so the other dogs grew calmer too. The team had been moving across the ice for hours. Suddenly, there was a loud, cracking sound, like a gun going off. Hassan knew that sound. It was the sound of ice breaking. Somewhere, not far ahead, the ice had split apart. If the team kept going straight, they would run right into the freezing water and drown. Balto heard the ice crack too. He slowed for a moment. Then he turned left. He headed straight out to the sea. He went for a long time. Then he turned right once more. Balto was leading the team around the icy water. Finally, he gave a sharp bark and turned north. He had found the trail to Nome again. Soon, the trail left the sea ice. From now on, it was overland. Things should have been easier. They weren't. The snow was falling thick and fast. In some places, the wind swept most of it off the trail. But in other places, the snow drifts came up almost over the dogs' heads. And the wind was blowing harder and harder. It sent bits of icy snow straight into Hassan's eyes. I might as well have been blind, he said. I couldn't even guess where we were. And the dogs were tired. Again and again, they tried to stop. They wanted to lie down and go to sleep in the snow. Balto was just as tired. But he would not stop. He kept on pulling, and the other dogs had to follow behind. Now something else began to worry Gunnar-Kassan. They had been traveling for about 14 hours. Surely they should have reached the town of safety in 14 hours. Kassan went on for another hour. Then he knew. Somehow they had missed the town in the storm. They must have passed right by the new dog team. Kassan knew they couldn't stop and waited for the storm to die down. He and dogs would freeze if they did. They couldn't go back to Bluff either. They had come too far. There was only one thing to do now. Pray and push on to Nome. Later, Gunnar-Kassan said he couldn't remember those lost miles very well. Each one was a nightmare of howling wind and swirling snow and bitter cold. But somehow, with Balto leading slowly and steadily, they made it! At 5:30 in the morning, February 2nd, 1925, after 20 hours on the trail, the team limped into Nome! The whole town was waiting for medicine. They gathered around Ganar Kasan. They shook his hand and pounded him on the back. How can we ever thank you? One woman cried. Ganar Kasan shook his head. Then he sank to his knees beside Balto. He began to pull long splinters of ice from the dog's paws. Balto, what a dog, he said. I've been in Alaska for 20 years, and this was the toughest trip I've ever made. But Balto, he brought us through. Many newspapers and magazine stories were written about Balto. His picture was printed on postcards and in books. And today, on a grassy hill in New York City's Central Park, there is a life-sized statue of Balto, the dog who saved Nome. The end.